Nina, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, Kevin. How are you?
I am well. How are you?
I'm doing well.
So what do you have for? How old are you, by the way?
I'll be 35 next month.
So, are modern women gambling with their lives?
Um, I think they are, but I do like within that as a bullet point, I feel like I have a disagreement with how they should go about it.
Okay.
But I do think modern women are gambling with their lives because just speaking from my own experience, I had a whole phase like a lot of women tend to have, and like something that, especially millennial Gen Z women, that's, it feels like a rite of passage. One thing I can say, getting to 35 next month is that my whole phase definitely lasted way too long. I think,
So, do you think most women have a whole phase?
I don't know if most women have a whole phase. I won't say that, but I know that where I am, like I'm in DC,
Okay.
and a lot of women are very career minded here, career driven.
Okay.
Lots of people are PhDs, MBAs,
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
So
becoming a wife.
what's the disagreement about though? So we got to
So
get to
the
that.
disagreement is about how, I guess, I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you've mentioned like basically going from the home, like going from your father's home to going to a marriage,
Yeah.
basically. And I feel like there should be time to explore. I'll
You
just
mean
be
go
frank,
be
to
a hoe?
explore your not no, not being a hoe, but to
Stop right here. Hold
explore.
on. Let me ask you a question. Before what what do you think the average woman can learn out in the world experiencing other men that can
Um,
make her no, I didn't even finish the question. Put yourself in a man's position. What can a woman experience of value with other men that I will find valuable?
um, I I feel like she can gain a sort of what's the word? Like you probably gonna roast me for this, but you gain a certain sexual skill. Like you talk about a woman should be able to, keep a man fed and then drain his balls, but you do pick up certain skills when you're out there. I'm not saying being a hoe, but just having a few
So you
experiences.
can't do that with you. So you think a man would find it preferable that you would do that prior to him?
I don't know, honestly. I don't know because a
The
lot of
answer is no.
Ooh-wee. Man, bro. This is crazy. What's going on, y'all? Nick here, coming to you with another video. I'm with my brother.
This is James Eugene, and I don't recommend having a whole phase. Welcome to the Eugene Brothers Show. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. We let that video play out for quite some bit. I wanted to give people just a basis of where we're going off. This is coming by way of No Filter Dose. And his video, please support that brother's channel out. But he called it Kevin Samuel School's High Body Count Woman Who Thinks Sleeping Around Adds Value. And, more importantly, even subscribe to the original Kevin Samuel's channel, may he rest in peace. But this video is phenomenal because essentially this woman over here, she proposes that having a whole phase adds value to a man. And Kevin Samuel essentially questions her and says, what do you propose that you can learn from another man that will give me, your current man, value? Like what? And the girl can't even answer it with a straight face, right? She says, I don't know. And then Kevin Samuel interjects and said, the answer is nothing. Is no.
No. She proposes that by gaining sexual experience and certain techniques that could be a benefit to her recent man, her newest man.
And
That's what her line of thinking was. Oh,
right,
I gained experience. You know, I could bring that to the new. I could bring that to this new company.
right. And when, you're right. That is what she said. And when Kevin Samuel states, "Do you think that's what your man would want?" She says, "I don't know," and then he ends up saying,
Mhm.
"No." The answer is no. And
Right.
you guys, before we go any further, because I think it's very obvious, but I do want just proof for any women that may be watching this video later on. Maybe they could have a plethora of anecdotes within the description from men, where we can actually help these women out in this generation. Because I do believe the answer is an emphatic no. There is no man that desires their woman. Or let me say this, because there are men out there. I do believe there are some men, some that want experienced women, but I don't think majority of these men are men that actually want to wife women up. They probably want an experience. They probably just want, a fling here and there. But majority of men that are actually looking to wife up a woman, I think they definitely would prefer if they were to imprint on this woman themselves and not have this woman be imprinted on by other men. Would you agree, James?
I would agree. I don't recommend man and woman having sex before marriage. It causes disaster. And notice in the beginning, she said it's a gamble. She herself recognized that it's a gamble because she's endangering her life. But then she also mentioned something that she acknowledges that it's a gamble, but she doesn't recommend women doing it. She recommends women doing it a certain type of way in the beginning. Right? Remember what Kevin Samuel says? It's a gamble. You think about it. You're sleeping with multiple different peoples. It's a gamble. You're risking your life every single time. You're risking endangering yourself health wise with other people. But then, you know, I still haven't heard from her how she's going to try to mitigate this risk. I still haven't heard from her, but hey,
So let's
it's crazy.
so let's keep watching. Let's see what she has to say. Maybe she might explain herself.
Yeah, but a lot of
Hold
the men,
on, hold on, hold on. See, many of you women believe this, that it will be preferable. So what you're basically saying is men who are territorial by nature and want women to be as close to virgin as possible. You know that, right? You know men don't want women with high body count. You know that, right?
I know that, yes.
Right. So what you're actually trying to sell is that there's
And here's the thing, right? If she knows that, then why would you propose that you obtain a high body count when you know men of value desire women as close to virgin as possible?
Because guess what? Guess what, Nick? Like, zoom in for a second. Zoom in. And this is very important. People know the truth, but they don't give a shit any longer. People know the truth in all aspects, but they just don't give a damn about it. And that's the problem with humanity. That's the problem with us.
Yeah.
a value in a woman getting out here and riding the cock carousel for a couple, 3, 4 years. That's actually going to be valuable to him as an asset. It's going to be an asset for me to go to the country club with you and Daryl saying, man, she's a great fuck. You mean to tell me it's going to be valuable? I take you to the mayor's ball. And he said, yeah, she sucked me off. And no, ma'am, no,
That makes sense.
no, because men are territorial. We don't, the fear is really, I think, honestly, if we're being honest, I think this is more of a fear from women. I want to get out and get it out of my system because if I don't get the kind of dick I like at home, at least I can remember what it was when I was young.
Mhm. But is that
And I think he's right. But then the question must be, where did this fear come from? This is my theory. If there is a fear, it is a fear that has been instilled in young women by broken women before them, where these women they already rode the cock carousel, like Kevin Samuel said, and they are expressing to these younger women that, this guy didn't please me sexually, because the truth be told, a virgin would not know what she's missing to begin with. She never experienced anything to compare anybody to, right? So what fear would she even have? This is an irrational fear that's built by other women who did play the hoe in the streets, right?
Is there not any value to getting it out of your system? Because I mean,
You're still not supposed
this
to
is
have it. You're not supposed to be a hoe. It's not supposed to be in your system.
well, not a hoe. I don't agree that
You're not
there
supposed
should
to
be.
crave. You're not. Okay, ma'am.
Mhm.
Let's talk about black folks. Did you watch the show that I talked about sexual professionals? Go back and look on the community tab, or just be honest. How many times have you been around your sisters and they will tell you, women, black women will tell you, they left the men primarily on sexual grounds?
Yeah, a
I
lot of
know
women
it. I've
do.
talked to hundreds, thousands of black women before I did that show. I interviewed dozens, and each one of them shared story. And this was women from 22 to 70, all sharing the same stories, decade after decade after decade. The only reason women were that way is because of an appetite that they had before the man that was suitable came along.
Mhm. Right.
So I don't see. So if women find themselves to be wrecking their own homes because they are been imprinted sexually by another man and they continue to keep looking for that same sex, you shouldn't have had it in the first place.
Mhm.
Women are not really
Um.
supposed to get out here and have whole phases.
mhm. Um.
Why? Do you understand why that is though?
I do understand why that is, and the whole.
Biochemically, women bond differently.
Yes, that's very true, and you pick up more damage along the way. I.
So there is, I, I have yet to have a woman truly articulate the value a woman can get from learning from other men through our quote unquote high value guy.
Mhm. Um. The thing that always comes to my mind, though, is that maybe this is anecdotal, but a lot of the men that I have talked to don't necessarily want virgins. I feel like modern men don't want virgins. I don't know if you
I
have
didn't
heard
say
of the show Married at
virgins.
First.
I said close to.
Mm-hmm. Right. But I mean,
Now
do
let's
you
understand
think that,
something. Let's understand something.
uh,
Are you, men, you talking about husbands?
mhm. um yeah.
No, no, they are husbands. They're married already, or they're seriously
No,
looking to
I
get
got you.
married
I got you. No, they're not husbands, but they want to be married at some point.
at some point.
Do you think you have what it takes to be a personal trainer? We do.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the thing, right? If she's admitting that these are not husbands, this is what I'm talking about. Like, then you trying to please what type of man in the first place? Why are you running the streets, thinking that you added value to a man because you like? I actually think, I'm not gonna lie to you. I actually think it would be a turnoff, at least for me. Like if I met a woman now, again, this generation, we already know that virgins are rare. I'm not here to condemn a woman because she had a sexual, past, right? I'm not here to do that. But if she knows every single trick under the sun prior to meeting me, I think that would be a turnoff. I'm not gonna lie. Because that means, damn, is there nothing that I could teach you? Is there nothing I can help you experience for the first time? It's very telling of all the past experiences that she had. Like, you learned this from Tom, you learned this from Harry, you learned this from Dick. Damn, where? I just don't get
Not
it.
not only that, but it's like that's a very intimate thing. sex that you're experiencing. Like, you're doing all of these acts, and who knows, some of these acts may be, people have their taboos when it comes to sex. They have their limits and boundaries, and who knows how far she pushed herself and went beyond what was considered normal in society. You get what I'm saying? And now the man has to picture that, like, whoa, you did this? I don't want to even think about doing this. Oh, you did that? Oh my goodness. You know, like, how extreme was her performances with these other guys? What did they demand from her? What did she demand from him? Because think about it, like, we have women that were compromising themselves today to go to Dubai powder parties. Think about that, right? Think about all the sexual deviant acts that they're performing for money. And some women, they do that for free.
That's the thing. You see, and I think that's the point, the comparison that automatically comes, not because you even want to, because you know that, damn, she had sex with this many other dudes. And now there's always something lingering in your mind. And people could say all day, oh, you don't be insecure. Stop it. Stop it. This is the reason why she's claiming herself. Get it out of my system. This is why Kevin Samuels is bringing it out. Yeah, there's a fear that you're missing out somehow. Fear of what? The fear should not even be there. Why you have a fear? Because you're comparing the dude that you're with some other dude that you've been in times past. And the worst thing that could happen, let's suppose if she actually did meet this Mendingo of an individual, right? Let's just keep it a buck. If she did meet a Mendingo of an individual, now you are pretty much screwed for the rest of your life. Now they're gonna say, oh, they're gonna try to comfort you, mind you, man. They're gonna comfort you. Oh, you know, it's not the size of the ship, it's the motion of the ocean. They're gonna say all these things to appease your mind, but deep down inside, they're having flashbacks of this dude just ramming her. And this is a reality.
Well,
Y'all might be very hold on, James. Let me land the plane. Y'all might be very intimate, and guess what? She slips out another man's name in the middle of the act. And all of a sudden, your mind is going crazy. You start sweating like, what did you call me? No, I called you. And they're going to say your name. And you're going to be like, no, that's not what you said before. Hey, I promise you, I said your name. They're going to gaslight you. Look, this is crazy. Why? Because she had too many experiences.
not only that, when people say body count doesn't matter, they're lying to themselves, because when you've had that much experience, you have now expectations, right? So now the woman is going to expect you to perform a certain way. She's going to expect you to do certain things that you may not be equipped to handle as a man. So, you know, so it works both ways. The people who have a lot of body count, they demand experience, or else they'll disqualify you for not meeting their expectations. So this is the hypocrisy there. Because you don't want to be shamed for having a high body count, and you say body count doesn't matter, but you yourself who have the high body count has expectations. So that's the hypocrisy. So it does matter. You see, how I look at it is like this. When you have a certain high body count, when you have that experience, now you've become in a different league. You've become in a different league. You're no longer a novice. You're no longer what's that thing called? Like a intermediate area, right? You're now advanced. It's like being in the NBA playing with junior high school kids. The skill level is a mismatch. You see that?
Hey, bro, you know that's a good analogy. Have you ever been to the court, fellas? I'm sure you know. Have you ever seen that one dude? You know he's nice. You can tell by his physique. You can tell by his stature. You can tell by the way he ties up his laces. You know he's dope. And you probably just the middle of the mill type of dude. And you probably go to him on the court and be like, "Hey, bro, you want to join the game?" And 9 times out of 10, they always like, "Nah, I'm good."
Right.
You know why? Because they're too advanced. They're too advanced. I bet many of y'all know those dudes. Those dudes that you know, they probably D1 basketball players. They're on their way to the NBA. Every time they step on the court, if you are middle of the middle, they look at you. Nah, I'm good. They don't even want to play with what they think is the common folks, the peons. It's the
They
same
don't.
thing. It's the same thing. That's why you might see on these dating apps these girls saying that, oh, he better be this many inches long. Why? They already comparing you to all these people. You know why? Because they, just like Samuel says, they already been imprinted on.
They
They
have
already
a certain level of experience and they don't want to come down to your level. You see, and
That's it.
and so this is why I say body count, having a high body count does matter. History always mattered. It mattered in regular history and with events. It happens with medical history, criminal history. Like history does matter. Don't like people are not supposed to delude themselves. This is why it's recommended that it's better for men and women to become virgins and marry, and then you could gain experience with each other. Because
Right.
now you understand how each other's bodies work. You understand the buttons that need to be pressed, and then everything will become a lot more smoother. But when you have that mismatch, it could be shaky. And a lot of people don't want to teach either.
Different kind. Okay. If guys out here just trying to get laid, of course he wants to have great sex.
Mhm.
But men who are trying to, uh, anecdotal, yes. Yes, there are men out there who say, yeah, I would want a woman that's experienced such and so forth. I know guys like that. But they are in the minority.
Mhm.
Most men accept the fact they would rather a woman with low miles and would have to teach her
Mhm.
versus, damn, how'd she learn how to do that? Because he's going to ask the question, whether he asks it or not.
Mhm. That's fair. So
But
then, do you think? Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Do you think that? So if a woman, goes to college
Mhm.
and I don't know, she's 22 or whatever, do you think that she should, or I guess, how many experiences do you think are enough? Basically, how much is too much? If she goes out and sleeps with 3 men before she gets married, is that too many?
Well, no, but I think we got to understand what women are doing today.
Mhm.
Young women are having more sex than young men. I watched a show here recently where a woman, she's had 100 sexual partners in a summer.
That's a lot. Yeah.
I mean, I talked to women.
You know, she chuckles and says that's a lot. To be honest. At 50,
Can't hear you.
what I'm saying is that, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yes.
I'm saying that it was a lot she's laughing saying that, oh, that's a lot because he said 50, 100, excuse me. She's just chuckling, but I'm saying that it was a lot at 50. It's a lot at 20. It was a lot at 10. This is the reason why he said be close as to a virgin as possible. For the women out there, because they all say, "Oh, you don't know my circumstance. I didn't mean to." No, no, I get it. There's some guys out there that are legitimate dirtbags. They tell you what you want to hear so they can get inside the pants. We get that, but let's not talk about those. We talk about in this particular situation. We talk about a woman that says she went through a whole phase. I mean, she was actively seeking, bodies. She was literally laying down bodies like the Undertaker. You got to understand that. So at that point in time, said woman, like you far exceeded your limitations long time ago. It's not evident at 100. Oh yeah, that's too much. No, it was too much the moment you can. Honestly, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest, bro. The moment you decided actively to go on a whole phase, it's you already done past the threshold. You already done past the threshold.
Mm-hmm.
When you get to the point, because I don't think this is just my opinion here. I could be wrong. I don't think women in the very onset of life say to themselves, "I want a whole phase." I think 9 times out of 10, they actually wanted a guy, this one guy, maybe that guy played her, and
Mhm.
then she comes to a realization that, F these guys, they ain't shit, and then the whole phase begins. I think whenever they come to the conclusion that I'm gonna just start hoeing around, you already passed the threshold.
Yeah, right. They wanna. They want. So here's the thing too, and I think we do have to. There's a little bit of blame that we do have to place on men as well, because if men are not doing right by these women, right? If men are, simply lusting after women and just, accumulating bodies themselves. We don't talk about that men are accumulating body themselves, and that's not a very good thing. But if they approach relationships in that manner, they spurn the women that they sleep with and cause animosity for women to have that animosity to act in that manner. You see, like you
And I'm
said, like these women, probably a lot of women go into the relationships, they don't have that mindset of having a whole phase. They probably love this individual, but if the man breaks up with them or does them dirty, this is what this is what caused them to spiral into that lifestyle in the first place.
can
Another
I
thing
put
too, go ahead.
I hear you. And I think in a vacuum, yes, that's true. But I'm gonna tell you why I don't believe it pertains to us today. Said men, right, that did spurn these women, I think they are the minority. And not do
Mhm.
I only believe they're the minority, I think these women thought these men that were in the minority. Statistically, right, is women are having more sex than men. But
Mhm.
yet it takes two to tango. So explain that. That means majority of women are having sex with the same men. I mean, they all find the same type of man. They find the archetype of that man attractive. Hence why you hear the rhetoric, the 6 figures, 6 feet, 6 pack, right? Because they all seeking the same type of man. They don't consider the average Joe. They don't
So
consider Matthew. Yeah, go ahead.
is this so now we have to go into the conditioning and the propaganda and the media that's pushing this type of individual.
Or other women themselves pushing this
True.
thing.
Very true.
Other women speak to other women and say, this is the kind of guy you got to go for. But again,
Mhm.
at that point in time, that guy, whether he's a bad boy, whether he's just high value, whatever the case may be, he is not going to just settle down for you. And then we're not even talking about if the man is high value and he already knows, he's probably not going to settle down with one woman. There's a lot of women who get in situations where the guy probably was dealing with her, and now he's dealing with multiple women at the same time. If that girl, because of her training, comes to the conclusion, well, oh, he's sleeping with multiple women, nah, he cheated on me. You got to understand, even the conditioning of monogamy in society causes this, right?
Mhm.
If they grew up in a society where polygyny was the norm, they probably would not even be ending up in these situations. They probably like, okay, cool. I understand that this is a high value guy. Let me just play my role and be content with this one individual. But the moment they've been brainwashed to believe, oh, he cheated on me, right? And I do this for a reason
Mhm.
because you can't see the word cheated nowhere in the Bible. But he cheated on me, and now all of a sudden, what happens? They because remember, statistically, women file for divorce 80% of the time. It's these women that is breaking up these relationships.
But here's the thing too, right? I think this is why I think it's actually a detriment that Christians believe that the law is done away with, because if you read Exodus 22, it you know the whole idea of being a virgin before getting married, that's the ideal. But even in Exodus 22, you didn't have to be a virgin to get married,
No, he didn't.
because it says that if a man slept with a woman, right, he must make her his wife, right? That's
Right.
the honorable thing to do. But here it goes a step further. If the father disagrees, if the father disagrees that this man should not marry his daughter, that man was supposed to pay the price.
Right. Right.
So already the Most High made provisions for this. So you didn't have to be a virgin to get married, right? But the principle of in itself is the man is supposed to pay the penalty or the price regardless. Either you pay the bride price or you pay the price for not doing what you were supposed to do and being honorable. And I think a deterrent like this today would actually be beneficial because now men would know that it's costly to sleep with somebody and it's reckless to do so because it will hit your pockets.
I agree. So now it's a societal thing. And at that point, I agree. I think that would put these quote unquote, I don't know the statistics, let's call them the 20% of the men that's sleeping with all the women, right? That would set men in check when it comes to having sex. And then maybe society. But again, we don't live in those times. So we find ourselves in situations where there are many factors that's causing the breakdown of marriages today. But let's keep going.
I mean, a question for you.
Mhm.
If you were going to, if you knew you had found the person you're supposed to be going to be with until the end of time, and you knew you guys were going to be together till the end of time, you'd want to delay getting together, or would you want to get started as soon as possible?
Yeah, I would definitely want to get started as soon as possible. Yeah.
And that's the whole point. The problem is with so many women, they're looking at fear and scarcity, but the problem is not. The problem in leaving relationships today is modern women.
Mhm.
You're the one leaving. 80% of the time, women leave.
Mhm.
So I don't really think many women really know how to be involved. And I find it hard to think that a woman who has had multiple sexual partners, and I'm making no judgment, understand something. I don't, but it makes it harder for you to bond. You know that. And if it's harder for you to bond, that's one more obstacle. Now, not all men are as open as reasonable as I am. Some guys will hold it against you, but the net of it is that I don't really see any value to a woman, to a man, for getting out here and having a whole phase or getting out here and getting it out of her system. That's supposed to be a man thing.
Mhm.
Sow your oats. Women are the oats. But when this world where we try to make men and women equal,
Time out.
and if he
So this is where I fundamentally disagree with Kevin Samuels. Because if you say men are supposed to sow their oats, right, then that would mean you add in a body count to these women and you're not marrying them. And this is what causes the snowball effect that we just mentioned, that these guys are sowing their oats, but guess what? These women are getting hurt and now they want to have the whole phase. So this is where I disagree with Kevin Samuels in this point. If you're going to have a law, you have to make it very equal for both men and women. They're not supposed to have sex before they get married.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you in a vacuum. I do agree as well. I don't think that he's necessarily advocating for that. I think what he's saying is that that is generally a man thing to do. And I think he is right from the standpoint that, if we're talking about just from an anthropologic standpoint, where prior to the Roman Empire, 80% of the world were polygynous. So men by nature tend to have multiple partners by nature. So now I think so hold on. So I'm saying that to say where I'm not necessarily advocating that men should sow their oats or have sex prior to marriage, as we discussed, and you said it eloquently. The sex should have been marriage, right? However, is generally, I think that's what he's saying, that's generally a man trait. That's a masculine trait to desire multiple partners. A woman desiring that's actually a very modern phenomenon People could talk about polyandry all day, but majority of societies don't exist polyandrous. It's not a very viable form of living to be polyandrous. So, yeah, you at that point in time, you just fight.
It's not pragmatic. I wouldn't say viable. It's not practical. Given the biological asymmetry between men and women.
But also, I'm just saying in terms of society as a whole, and throughout the time, there are no. When I say viable, there are no working societies long term that are polyandrous historically.
Mm.
But I say that to say where it's just like I do agree with you though. I don't think that a man should just have countless sex, because you are right. They are creating essentially the same woman that they're talking about, right? They talking down on, like you're creating the
Precisely.
holes, right?
Can do it, she can do it. But here's the thing: men, it's a double standard, and women pay a different sexual penalty from promiscuity.
From a young age, I told myself I wouldn't be caught dead in a toxic or abusive relationship.
Do you want to delve in further
Sorry.
to the stigma?
Even
Stigma?
biochemically.
Say that again.
Do you want to delve in further into the stigma, the double standard?
Well, go ahead, lay it out.
So, I think the double standard comes from women not knowing who their father is. And this is probably why it's such why it's taboo or why it's frowned upon for women to sleep around with so many different partners. Because when you mention on a practical level, polygyny, if one man sleeps with multiple women, all those women know who the father is, and the children know who the mom is, right? But if one woman sleeps with multiple men, the chances of finding who the father is very difficult. This is why we have paternity courts,
Especially back then.
especially back then without DNA tests. Exactly, right? So it's just like, from a practical level, this is why polygyny has always been more beneficial and more practical, because the biological asymmetry, right? A woman can only get pregnant 9 months at a time. A man could just shoot 3 times a day, and perhaps all 3 of them could get pregnant within that day. So I think this is where the double standard comes in, because of the biological asymmetry between men and women.
Yeah.
However, even though that's frowned upon, it's still paramount for men to understand, okay, yes, there is a difference between men and women. However, don't abuse that. Be righteous and be honorable, and don't abuse that, right? Because you contribute to a negative society.
But yeah, I think this is the thing I was saying before, right? Because everything you're saying is true. But I think, again, when we hold men accountable, who are the said men to hold accountable? These are they are the minority within, within 100% of men that exist on this planet, right? These high value dudes, the ones that's having sex with all the women, they are the minority. They probably not even gonna be watching things like this anyway, because they don't give a shit. These guys they are the elites, right? They don't give a shit. Their moral compass is been gone. Majority of the dudes that are complaining in today's society, where they complain about the modern women, these are the average dudes, right? And majority of these dudes are not even trying to play around with these women. They're not. They probably generally want to just build their families. Even in the so-called MGTOW, men going their own way, they too are trying to start their own family. But a lot of them are just trying to do it overseas, or passport brothers. Excuse me, passport brothers. Men going their own way. I actually think that is there are those dudes that like, okay, I give up on women altogether. They've gone back to being, players and all that stuff. So I can't speak to men going their own way. But Passport Brothers, they too desire families. They just don't
Yeah.
want in America, right?
They don't
Majority
want that. They don't want that Western mindset.
majority of men who desire families. Why? Because it's legacy building. Every
Mhm.
man knows that I'm gonna one day pass away. So who I'm gonna pass this on to? I
Yeah.
need a seed. I need a child,
Yeah.
right?
The culmination of your work and your the empire that you've built or whatever project that you started, you could hand it on to your kids. Hopefully, they finish it.
Indeed.
That's so
So,
underrated
uh,
too, because it's just like your children is the prayers of your ancestors.
Yeah.
all right. Anything else before we go on to the next person?
Um, I mean, I disagree with your stance on women's sexuality in general. Like you saying that it's a man's thing.
What
Like
do you
I
mean?
know that.
What is my stand? Oh, you disagree? Okay. What do you think my view is on women's sexuality?
Um, I I think that you believe that women have a sense of sexuality, but you think that men's desire for sex is more important than women's, and it trumps.
Biochem?
Mhm.
No. I think biology supports that. Is a
Mhm.
female orgasm required for reproduction?
No, no, it's not.
Then take it up with the creator.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I get that, but I like even going to the whole. Well, never mind. I'm not going to bring that up. The whole like men exercising options and stuff like that. But women, a lot of women, and a lot of women that I know are very sexual, and they end up with people who. Did you say
And they're
something?
also very single.
Well, no,
And
I know of
and
some
they're very
married
single.
women.
And here's the thing: and the thing is, one way tends to work and have relationships of value and meaning. I mean, if your people are from the United States,
Mhm.
how many people did your grandma or great grandma hold phase with before she got with with your great granddad or your granddad? Hmm?
Well,
How
probably
many?
none. But I don't.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And they were together 40, 50, 60 years. The stuff that we talk about that we want. But see, now we want to have the outcomes grandma and grandpa and big mama and them had, but we want the inputs of modern women. No, you cannot have it all. So if you want to get out and explore your sexuality, do you, boo boo? Enjoy. But understand it's going to lead to an empty ass life because black women, especially black women, some of the most sexually liberated and free talking, thinking women, and you're the most unmarried. I'm not saying causation, but damn sure correlation. They also have the most atavistic mating standards. Black women, more than any other group of women, will get rid of a man based upon looks and sexual performance, even if everything else is. Where did this arguably is it helpful
Imagine being able to build anything just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
to the outcome?
No, I mean, no. The way you're putting it is not helpful, and
No, it's selfish.
mhm.
And the thing is, what we're starting to see is we're starting to see the beginnings of the first wave of free love, laissez-faire, don't tell me whatever. We're starting to see that group of womanist feminists hit their 50s. And I don't know if you've seen what pathetic looks like, sad looks like. Go around your local city and see many women in their late 40s and 50s who've just done what they wanted to do with their life, their body, such and so forth. Uh,
Right.
they're
Well,
valid. I would venture to say that they're rather masculine in their attitudes and dispositions.
that's fair. Well, one last thing I want to say before I let you move on. What would you say about a woman who got married fairly early to somebody, and her husband was her only partner for 10, 20, however many years, and she gets to a point where she feels like she's bored and she wants to explore her sexual options, so to speak.
What do you mean? What I would tell her?
Hmm?
What do you ask me? What I would tell her?
Well, what are your thoughts on that? Do you believe that women can become like sexually frustrated and wish that they had
Sure.
experienced more?
Do you think? Do you think? Okay, ma'am. Due respect. I don't act like you can have it all. I don't care if you're sexually frustrated. Go pleasure yourself. You have a finger, a dildo. Go figure it out. Women used to have to go to the doctor for hysteria, and he would strap something to his hand, plug it into the wall, and put his hand down there until she climaxed. But you need to look around your house and say, do I have a husband? Do I have a kid? Do I have 401k retirement? Is a life worth living or good sex? And even the Sex in the City women have come out and said this was bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
This is a lie that's been marketed to women. The cosmopolitan lifestyle. I did a broadcast on this 2.5 months ago. Delayed marriage, open sexuality, sexual choice. It's BS. What's the outcome? Do you know any women that are sexually liberated, sexually free, all these other things that are in happy, functioning, productive relationship that have legacy?
No, because I feel like it's a generational thing. I don't think
It's not a generational thing. It's okay. So the answer is, what happens what happens when sex is no longer that much of an option? You use your yoni up, and now it's 45.
So I think one of the biggest things I feel like we've done as a society that actually is messed up, we think that legacy is only for the man. But I think I'm going to state it right now. When you have that child, that's also legacy for the woman as well. Because it's 50% DNA for the man and 50% DNA for the woman. That child is not just the legacy of the man. That child is the actual manifestation that the man slept with the woman, and therefore women have legacy as well. So if women have it in their minds that raising a family is also about legacy for them as well, they would be more inclined not to sleep around, but be serious about marriage, because you're building a legacy as well.
But Kevin Samuel ends up asking this woman, or rather rebuking this woman, and saying later on that why is everything surrounding sex, and how us in society, especially Black people in particular, the conversation is always regarding sex, and not enough thought is given to relationship building. Again, I think that legacy building, excuse me. And I think the problem is that women are so concerned about this fear that I didn't get to experience, their sexual desires or whatever the case may be. And we already covered that. But the thing I go back to or want to land the plane on is, why is it that we are so only fixated on sex? Maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's the reason why we're so behind as a people. That we always want to think about sex, but when are we going to actually talk about this building of the home, building of legacy, building of businesses? Do you have any last words, James?
Nah, I said what I had to say. The whole phase is not beneficial at all for anybody, man or woman. Man and woman shouldn't rack up a high body count, point blank, period.
I agree. With that being said, Nick, James, over and out. Yeshua is king, y'all.
Subscribe.